Demonstrators across the United States are marching over aggressive federal action taken against immigrants. They've rallied in Minneapolis, where federal agents killed 2 protesters in recent weeks, and many other cities. Overtures from the White House that it's rethinking federal enforcement efforts did little to alleviate anger over the violence.
They marched in the South. In San Antonio, Texas, hundreds rallied to demand an end to the aggressive federal campaign against immigrants. Their message: stand up, fight back. They marched in the West. In Los Angeles, which has been heavily targeted by ICE, protesters gathered at City Hall. And they marched in the East. Downtown New York was the scene of another demonstration. At a high school in the southeastern state of Georgia, students walked out, chanting against ICE as they did so. Their message was simple.
We really hope that this can impact the people that are getting murdered and abused and kidnapped.
I think that it's really important when you're not affected by something to still stand up for what you know is right. And we all came together to decide that we weren't going to sit here and let everything that's happening just happen and pass us by.
Back up north in Minnesota, huge crowds swelled the streets of Minneapolis again, despite the biting cold. And protesters were given a boost by a new song, dedicated to them by a musician who's long styled himself as the champion of the underdog in America. And he says he's not being subtle in his message.
Nuance is wonderful, but sometimes you have to kick them in the teeth. So this is for people in Minneapolis, people of Minnesota, and the people of our good country, the United States of America.
But with people being killed in broad daylight by federal agents and prominent journalists being arrested for documenting protests, many in Minnesota and across the US are wondering just what is becoming of the country they once knew.
Rebecca Winter is from the grassroots movement 5051. I put it to her that the rallies on Friday weren't as big as last week's union-led protests.
It's true that without the unions, they haven't been as large. But one thing that's very different about the demonstrations that are happening today is that they are student-led. These came from a call to action from student groups in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and we are very proud to be supporting them all across the country.
I believe you also have protests organised tomorrow, ICE out rallies on Saturday across the US. What are you expecting there?
So we do have over 300 rallies tomorrow for ICE out of everywhere. And those are actually all across the world. So we do have demonstrations happening in other countries in solidarity. And we are expecting very large turnouts. Today was about shutting things down. So about getting out of schools, getting out of businesses, and even Hollywood has been participating in shutting down business as usual today. But tomorrow is when we're calling for people to get out on the streets and get loud.
Rebecca, how well would you say your message is being received in Washington, say?
Well, I think that we are getting a lot of traction because ICE continues to be as lawless as possible. They are not acting like law enforcement. They are acting like an untrained militia. And we are seeing that there are cracks on every side now in support of getting rid of ICE. And that's what we want. We want to see ICE abolished. We are glad that the Senate is demanding reform, but we want more than that. ICE and DHS have not been serving the American people. They have been violating our Constitution, and they're outright murdering people on the streets now. I really can't understate how severe things are in Minneapolis and St. Paul right now. Those cities are under federal occupation.
You mentioned the change coming from the Senate. What would you like to see from politicians at both state and federal levels?
I really want to see politicians using every tool in their toolbox. One of the things that we are preaching, because we are a nonviolent movement, but non-compliance is something that we don't see electeds really pushing as much as they should. They are following business as usual. This is not business as usual. American citizens are under attack. Immigrants who are here in the country legally are being disappeared and put in these overcrowded prisons where they're not given adequate food, water, or shelter, and they're not having their medical needs cared for. This is not what should be happening in any democracy, especially not in the United States of America. And politicians need to be much more outspoken and being non-compliant in any way possible.
Protest organiser Rebecca Winter, thank you very much for being on DW News tonight.
Thanks for having me.